I see a lot of TikToks talking about he's not gonna like you if you're too masculine. Get into your feminine energy. Bro, fuck that feminine energy, bro. Be you. Whatever that means. Feminine, masculine, like fuck these labels, bro. For real.
That shit is crazy.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Saving Men's Lives Network. Thank you guys for being here. Today's video is actually in response to a comment I got from a female subscriber. Shout out to you. Coming all the way from South Africa. And shout out to South Africa, Cape Town, Johannesburg. This comment was left below one of the videos I made a few days ago called entitled Single Mothers Want You to Jump Through Hoops for the Punani. I'll leave a link to that and I'll pin it down below. But quick recap for that video, for those who didn't see it. There was a single mother and she was on a dating show, and her demeanor was one of absolute repulsion. Any man of value would encounter such a woman and just veer the other way. Very confrontational, very argumentative. You'll see it for yourself. But back on topic, the question was, so a woman with a degree and makes six figures is a red flag? What do men really want? Do men want a woman that brings nothing to the table except submission and curves? This is an excellent question, and thank the subscriber for that. I want to say it like this. When it comes to attraction, a lot of women have been poisoned by vaginal Marxism. You would know it better by its media-friendly nickname of feminism. And what they're told is men and women are the same. Fundamentally, mentally, chemically, we're identical. There are no differences, and thus women and men should be treated exactly the same in society. Now, this is provably ridiculous with something as low technology as either a mirror, which have existed since the Egyptian Empire and perhaps even before, or a calm body of water, and a man and a woman standing next to each other with no clothes on. We're not the same, and there's very few similarities between us that aren't superficial in nature. Key among those is this. When you look at the human race and you remind yourself that we are several tens of thousands, perhaps even hundreds of thousands of years old, you ask yourself, what did people of the ancient world want? Well, they wanted what we want. They wanted to A, not starve to death, B, not freeze to death, C, not have their bloodline go extinct, D, they wanted to not be invaded by a foreign empire, and E, they wanted to try to provide the family they hoped to have with the best possible outcome and provide for them what they themselves didn't have when they were in their youth. Modern parents have the same ambition. Modern single people often have the same ambition. The catch, though, is what women have been told that men expect of them. Because men haven't changed. We've changed very little since our prehistoric ancestors. What's demanded of us, what's expected of us, would be very familiar to our great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers in terms of what they were told they should provide for their families and for society at large. Sacrifice. Sacrifice yourself and your body to put food on the table. Sacrifice yourself in the event that someone is breaking into the home to cause the family harm. Sacrifice yourself in the defense of the nation and or the empire, depending on how far back in time you go. See, the thing about it is, it's not so much that a woman with a degree and a high income occupation or business is the red flag itself. That's fine. But when it comes to relationships, the traits that are necessary for a woman to achieve high academic success, high economic success, are extraordinarily, singularly masculine in nature. It's very cutthroat in the academic world. It's extremely cutthroat in the business world, where you have professional rivals seeking to take your spot if you have a successful business, or if you're an upstart business looking to unseat a existing business. You don't get to come into the marketplace and innovate without somebody getting their toes stepped on. People don't want their toes stepped on. So for you to succeed in that arena, you have to be headstrong. You have to be cutthroat. You have to be a ball buster and willing to take nothing but success as the answer. And that's great. in the boardroom. That's great at the office. But at home, no man wants to be treated this way unless he is deeply feminine and you know what, people are into all kinds of things. So if you got a guy who is an outlier into the S&M realm, okay, fine. Maybe he would go for that because that's his kink. And okay, fine. I ain't here to kink shame anybody. But the thing of it is, your average guy, your regular guy doesn't want some uncooperative ball buster living in his house. And it doesn't matter how much money a woman makes. Hypergamy by itself dictates that very rarely will any of that money, I don't care if she makes $25,000 a year or $25 million a year, that money is her money, in her opinion. Your money is there to supplement the fact she doesn't have to spend her own. If it's your birthday, if it's Christmas, your anniversary, you might get a gift then. Only the most elite of women spend money on you outside of those 3 occasions. So, what are we actually talking about? From our prehistoric ancestors who drew on cave walls, what men have liked in women has very few changes. This is important to remember because it wasn't until, and I'm speaking of America specifically, I don't know very much about how South Africa does things, but here in the States, the very first women's college ever didn't open its front doors until January of 1839. It would be another 111 years in the 1950s where going to college was something that was seen as expected for young women to do after high school was completed. It's a century later. But we're talking about the 17th century where it made sense to somebody to build a building and have girls go there for a college degree. This wasn't happening in Rome, the Aztec Empire, ancient Greece. You know, the emperors of China wasn't a big priority of theirs. So no, this is extremely recent in the grand scheme of human history. Not to mention the fact that when it came to women in the workplace here in the States, that didn't happen until the mid 1930s in large part. And it really got kicked up a notch and momentum was sped forward when we got attacked by the Japanese in 1941. The men had to go off to fight. Somebody had to make the bombs, the bullets, the tanks, the airplanes. And so the women were drafted into that regard to help with this effort. We got iconic fictional characters like Rosie the Riveter, who was a piece of propaganda put out to try to make women feel better about their part in the war effort. And I don't want to discount those women who were a part of the war effort because without them, the war could not have been won and the world would look very different today if the United States and our allies lost to Adolf and his crew, because you can't say the actual word here on YouTube because they'll ping you for it. But you know who I'm talking about. Those bad guys who were based out of Berlin, Germany in the 1930s and 40s. You got it. So, that said, I want to make another point very, very clear. So again, I want to address the issue because it was a good question to ask. It's not that men don't want women to be successful. The problem is hypergamy being what it is and how it operates is women only want to date men who are at their economic level and or status level, or men who are above both of those. So when a woman is very high achieving, when she's very, very successful, she tends to disqualify a great deal of men, thereby shrinking her pool of, in her opinion, viable options in the dating market. Men who would be good to her, men who would treat her well, men who would be great companions, men who would be great fathers to her unborn children. Or, in the previous video's case, men who, if they want that headache, could play a great stepdad role to the one she already has. The issue is, when women are very successful, at least economically and academically, they tend to look down their nose at men who perhaps don't have the exact same accolades as they do. Meanwhile, they've become something that men don't value, that men don't look for, and that men could give a damn about. Truth be told, there are only 2 kinds of men in the entire world who give a damn about a woman's economic success or her academic accolades. And those 2 men are a hiring manager, or you could say an employer who's looking to fill a position, and that position requires someone to have a certain level of academic success. You need to have a master's to have this job, or a bachelor's or an associate's degree. They state that in the application process and in the want ad. That man gives a damn how much school you've got. The second man is a man who is coming to that woman for a product or a service, and he wants the mental satisfaction of knowing that the person providing it knows what they're doing. If you hire a female accountant, you want to know that she's been to school for it. If he hires a female attorney, he wants to know that she's passed the bar. So I understand it in those very specific aspects. When it comes to the dating market, a handsome man, objectively handsome, meaning most women will look at this guy and say he looks good, can date anybody. He can date some high-powered attorney, some PhD, or he can go get a Big Mac combo from McDonald's and date the chick at the cashier. He doesn't care. We never have. And that upsets modern women because they've been told for the longest time that we do, and then they get out here and the results don't match their effort. Imagine as a man, if you spent 20 years, I'm rounding up because from kindergarten to graduation is 13 years, and it's 4 years for a bachelor's degree in most cases. So 17 years. You spend 17 years, fellas, learning to put on a dress and walk in high heels and apply your makeup to perfection, wearing wigs and getting acrylic nails every Friday. And you spend 2 decades perfecting these skills. And then you get out into the dating market and you go on a first date with a woman, or you meet her at the grocery store, whatever the case may be, and you got all this bullshit on. And you walk up to the girl who you find attractive, because you're not a homosexual. You just been doing these feminine ass traits. You walk up to a woman you find attractive, and you try to get her phone, and she looks at you like, bro, what the fuck? And she walks away, or laughs and walks away, or runs away, because she's like, whoa, what is this guy doing? What is he presenting to me that I'm supposed to find attractive? And I know that's a pretty crazy example, but you get my point. For women who walk up to men who have dresses on, there's not a whole lot going to happen any further than that. For women who have all these high-powered degrees and they make all this money, they have behavioral traits and masculine speech patterns that most men find repulsive. We don't need it. We never have. This is what you've been told that we want. You've been lied to. The uncomfortable truth is, college-educated women are the single most destructive force to the American family that we've ever seen. They initiate 90% of all divorces, breaking up the family, putting their children at statistical risk for all types of harm and dysfunction, all because hypergamy doesn't care. I'll leave a link to that video down below as well. So, no, fellas, don't let these women tell you that you need to go after a woman who has attributes and behavior patterns and habits that are counterintuitive to a long-term relationship where she should be following your lead. Women who have these very, very high occupations that pay them well, women who have these high-powered Super Saiyan degrees are often looking to be competitive with you. You compete all day at the office. You compete all day in traffic. You compete all day with other men everywhere else. You should not have to compete, or to say it a different way, you spend all day slaying dragons. You should not come home to one. That said, fellas, that's my time. Like the video, comment down below. Share with a friend and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Never let your brother suffer in silence when the truth can set him free. Networkers, we working. Till next time.